All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Samit, and I'm joining you with my partner, Rob, and we're here to share something that could fundamentally transform your sales operations. So, what if I told you that by the end of this year, your sales team could be 10 times more productive than they are today, reducing operational costs by roughly about 80%, and operating 24/7 without burning out your human talent on your sales team, right? So, now, I know what you might be thinking. Here comes another pitch about AI replacing my sales team, but here's what makes what we're going to be talking about here today a little bit different. We're not here to talk about replacing the humans on your sales team. We're here to show you how to create supercharged sales teams where AI and humans are going to be working together. And that's the focus of here today. And each of them doing the best at what they do best, right? So, but before we dive into each of these solutions, let's be honest about what's really happening with today's sales teams. So let's kind of go into our second slide here. So, right now, guys, here's kind of the problem that we've seen. We've analyzed our sales team, Rob, and these are some of the things that we found for us, and maybe this kind of translate towards you as well too. So, let's start with some uncomfortable truths, right? So, one uncomfortable truth that we found that the average sales rep spends only 28% of their time actually selling, right? All the time that your rep is working day to day, 8 hours a day, what we found in our sales team is that they spend roughly about 28 to 30% actually doing the sales. Think about that. Your highest paid salesperson, they're spending about a little bit over 70% of their time on administrative tasks, right? There's a lot, as a salesperson myself, there's a lot of administration tasks that one has to deal with that really kind of eats up your time. So even more concerning than that is that 83% of sales reps are missing their quotas. That's not a people problem. That's going to be a systems problem. And that's kind of what we had found out when we analyzed our team. So your sales team, they're drowning in a couple of items here: endless administrative tasks, manual data entry that never seems to end, lead qualification that takes hours per prospect, follow-up sequences that fall through the cracks, CRM updates that happen late or just not at all, and meeting scheduling that becomes a game of email ping pong, right? That might sound a little bit familiar to some of you guys out there. And so here's kind of the reality check, right? Your best sales rep, the ones that you're paying about maybe 80, maybe about 100K in commissions, are spending most of their time, like we said, 70 to 80% of their time on tasks that can for sure be automated in today's market. So what if we could flip that ratio? What if your reps could spend 70% of that time building relationships and focusing on closing deals, right? So that's exactly what we talk about here today. What we're going to be talking about is a hybrid AI human model that makes it possible. But first, let me address kind of the elephant in the room, right? And so before we go to the next slide, Rob, what do you think about sales teams and AI automation that's happening today as you're helping companies?
So yeah, with AI, when it comes to not even just sales teams, but everywhere in a company, you can definitely see that most people, the creative jobs are there, still there. The importance of still being able to have the human make these creative decisions are still there, but to be able to use AI to get there faster is probably the biggest flex that a business can have right now, for sure.
Yep. And I think like what a lot of sales teams are realizing is, I think when you're running a sales team, and I'm talking about two, three plus people on your team, you're going to realize that, for most sales managers or directors, there's a lot of like keeping up with the statistics, keeping up with the KPIs, right? Every salesperson has to put their KPIs in an Excel sheet or whatever system they have, because that's really how we're going to be driving decisions is through data. And all we're really
Yeah.
looking for, and just from my personal experience, having been on sales teams as a salesperson, it's important to collect that data, but it could be quite cumbersome as a salesperson entering that data in every day. You might forget a day. And again, as you're a sales manager or a director and you're looking at this data, you have to realize that that data that's input in that sheet has eaten up about 70% of your person's like prime time just to
Yeah,
do that,
definitely.
And I think that's really the thing. It's like, how do we take these administrative tasks right now with AI power, the power of AI agents, and kind of streamline that, and then it really kind of will reduce the error rate and really kind of have your sales team not feeling like, oh my God, I gotta input all this data every single day. Like I know that that's a pain point for most sales teams out there, if not all.
And it works two ways too, because like you can also set up the AI to use KPIs or like information like that to keep reminding you or like give you red flags during the day while you're selling to let you know if you're on point, to let you know, hey, I forgot to do this. I should have reminded someone to do this, or I need to follow up with this lead, or I need to follow up with a certain person, even just saying thanks for choosing us or something like that. You know, it's like small little automations or AI automations like that that can really make a big difference, I feel like, for sure.
a
Just
hundred
that
percent. I mean,
touch. It's a nice little feedback loop, right?
no, 100%. And when it comes to the data that a lot of salespeople are working with, sometimes you'll have, a little bit of data, like maybe you'll have their name, you'll have their email, maybe you'll have their company name and their website URL. But at that point, the salesperson is trying to click on that website to understand more about that business before they respond back. And I think, one thing we'll talk about later is the enriching of data. So I see some CRM softwares now have it built in that, you can enrich the data right there, right then. Or you can use something like Clay. But enriching the data is a process that a lot of sales teams or SDR spend a lot of time in. You have an SDR, you're paying them $5 to $8 an hour for, 8, 10 hours a day. They're getting the data, they're trying to find all the fields of the data and making this Excel sheet for your closers. But all that is time and energy, and who knows how accurate exactly that is, right? And all that time and energy could have been done through AI. So I think enriching data is one easy, quick win with AI that's already kind of happening with a lot of the CRMs out there. They're implementing it into their system. I think, that's going to be key. So moving on to our next slide. So the big elephant in the room I was talking about, a lot of people ask us like, why not just replace the humans, right? If AI could do everything, let's just replace the humans, right? So, they could do all the tasks, why not replace the humans entirely? But honestly, that's actually a terrible idea, right? And let me kind of point out why. So companies that are trying to go AI only quickly, what they're discovering is that AI lacks emotional intelligence, right? Like we said in our previous videos, it's just a very, great copy paste tool, right? But just with intelligence. So there's not any emotional intelligence, where in sales, emotional intelligence is a huge part of getting that sale closed, right? Understanding the customer's issues and their pain points is important, right? So it can't really read between the lines yet. It can't build genuine relationships, which is another important aspect of sales. So sales is fundamentally, as you know, about building those relationships, understanding your customer. It struggles with complex negotiations where creativity and intuition still matter. It misses nuanced objections that humans pick up instantly. And it has zero creative problem solving abilities, right? So, on the right side, human strengths. Meanwhile, your best salespeople for sure will excel at emotional intelligence and genuine empathy, building complex, trust-based relationships. Strategic negotiation skills is still a key thing that most salespeople will always handle. They're good at it. That's why you hired them, and they can adapt in real time. Creative problem solving when standard solutions don't fit, right? So if your offer doesn't fit that client, they could kind of figure out another offer right there on the spot and not lose that sale. Building trust and rapport that AI simply cannot replicate, right? So the research that backs this up is that 59% of customers, from what we've found, still prefer speaking to a human agent, right? For complex issues. And a little bit over 60% of the people in the sales process, clients expect a real-time response. So that is still huge to have that human interaction aspect, not just fully AI it, right? So this isn't either a choice or should we have it or not have it. The magic happens when you combine AI speed, right? That's what we're trying to save here is efficiency, AI speed, and then the scalability with human relationship building and closing skills. So that's the hybrid model that we're talking about here for your sales team. So diving in a little bit deeper into the hybrid model, let's go deeper into that. I want to detail a little bit of the architecture for everybody that's listening to this call. So what does a hybrid model actually look like? It's honestly, it's beautifully, it's simple, right? AI will going to handle a lot of the top of the funnel tasks, all the grinding that your salespeople are doing, time-consuming work that bogs down your rep, seamless handoff, right? AI can pass warm leads, qualified leads with full context to the humans. Humans will focus on the closing aspect, relationship building, complex negotiations, and strategic deal management. And then with AI, AI takes over lead generation and research, finding the right prospects, initial outreach sequences, the first touch points, of course, in any sales process, meeting scheduling, eliminating the back and forth emails, back and forth of what time are you available, what's going on. So it's a seamless process that when you're dealing with leads that you don't know very well, but you just got to get that process done. CRM data entry, huge component, keeping everything updated automatically and on time. Follow-up automations. Follow-up is key. If you don't follow up within 5 minutes of a lead interacting with you, like I was talking about in one of my posts earlier this week, the 3 a.m. problem, when something happens in the middle of the night and you're sleeping and you don't follow up with them, the lead might be, on to the next one, on to the next solution out there, right? So following up on time is super important. And then basic objection handling. If you program an AI agent's database, upload your information, and understand how you've handled objections in the past, the AI can learn about those, standard objections that people might have about your offer, and they can address those common issues instantaneously, right? Whereas now the human on the right side of the box right here, they'll be able to do discovery calls where relationship building begins, solution presentations tailored to specific needs, complex negotiations requiring strategic thinking, relationship building that leads to long-term accounts, and deal strategy and account management. So, Rob, why don't we show exactly how this works from a technical perspective to our audience?
Yeah, sure. So, I'll show you what makes this all possible from a technical standpoint, right? And I can share my screen real quick just to give you an overview of some processes that we've used. On the back end of this, we set it up so that it is linked to a bunch of different N8N agents, you can say, on the back end. So RAG agents, publishing agents, agents that just scrape the web for you, can scrape your competitors, can scrape even your own website for content ideas, pushes it into a system so that you can see exactly what has been working in your business, like content wise. And
So,
then,
question for you, Rob. Well, while you were on that,
yeah,
go back
sure.
to the table.
Yeah.
So, just for our audience, so this table, just so that we're all clear, represents kind of where you put in your instructions for the AI agent. Is that what we should understand this as? This is the
Yeah,
interface that somebody would be working off of, and then the N8N flow that you just showed, that's really the engine of what's happening, between one step to the next step to the next. That's literally the AI agent, essentially. It's if we're looking at it that way. Is that correct?
exactly. So what we're thinking is building a really easy to use uh, interface so
Mm-hmm.
that on the back end, you don't really have to pay much attention to what's going on the back end. It's just more like an invisible layer, invisible thread pulling together your tech stack and taking actions all on the back end where you can just watch it in one place, make
Got
sure
it.
that it's running okay, and then it's feeding back to you in a certain way so that you know that the AI is running in the back end, right? And also still having a way, like this is why I'm showing the Airtable because people are familiar with this, still having a way to deal with the information that feels native to you, or to your specific business, right?
Got you. Got you.
So, yeah. when
Okay.
it come yeah, when it comes to the architecture and the integration, so the key to successful hybrid AI implementation is to have the right foundation. Um, and yeah, I showed you a little bit of how we architect these systems, but it all starts from the data layer where you take your existing CRM, your customer 360 data, external APIs, and we don't replace your current system. We're trying to find a way to enhance it and just try to make it less spaghetti code and more understandable for you, where it doesn't feel overwhelming, where you're bogged down by thousands of emails or thousands of notifications. It is all streamlined in a way that just talks to you like how you would talk to an employee or something like that, where you just text them or you have an easy way of communication to like fix problems, right? Instead
Makes
of having to
sense.
be reminded by emails or like bogged down by a crap
Right.
ton of notifications, right? And then the
And
next thing, yeah,
I was
sorry.
going to just say, so that's why it's so important when we do talk, like for those of you that are listening out there, when we do get on the phone with potential clients, you know, I think the one thing that a lot of people ask is this right for me or not? Right. And
Yeah.
I think, one of the biggest things that we do to make sure that we can help you or your business is analyze it, right? So on that call, it's what we do every day, it doesn't cost you anything. We have to understand your business. And then when we actually get into, an engagement, we analyze it to the point where we ask you for all of your data. So whatever you've collected, give us all of your KPIs for your sales team. Give us all of your scripts and how you handle your sales process today, however simple it is or complex it is. Give us some recorded phone calls if you have some Zoom calls. All of this data we analyze, we pump through our system, and we'll come back with a robust plan. And sometimes, if you're small, maybe you don't really even need an AI agent. That's another surprising thing, right? Even though AI agents are powerful, there's a certain type of company that AI agents are for and a certain type of company that AI agents are not for. And we'll get into that later, but that's just something to kind of keep in mind is that, AI agents will work for a person. Like, for example, if you're doing 250K to 500K annually, you probably have one or two salespeople, or maybe you're doing it by yourself. Maybe an AI agent for sure can help you, right? If you're doing a million plus, you probably have two to three salespeople. It could for sure help you, right? But if you're doing 5K a month, and you're just a solo person, maybe the data enrichment agent can help you, right? There's multiple agents that we talk about. So it's not that you have to use all 10. It's just use what you think you need for now just to make your life efficient. And we analyze that, kind of give you that feedback, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, the magic is really in finding out where in the system and making that back end, making those automations really work for
Yep.
you.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So,
So,
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, I'm done. You're
Okay.
good.
So I was just going to talk about some real world examples next here. So, a lot of people want to, just to bring it home on how other companies out there are using kind of AI agents right now. So before we dive deep into implementation, I just want to show you that this isn't really theoretical. Companies are already using this with incredible results. So Klarna AI, it's an assistant. It now does the work of 700 employees. So I'm going to repeat that: 700 employees worth of work while cutting service resolution time from 11 minutes to 2 minutes. This was a crazy case study that I read recently. And here's a kicker: customer satisfaction is on par with human agents. So nothing changed with the satisfaction, but all this like time got unlocked for the company, right? VTT, Technical Research Company. VTT's Technical Research Center had thousands of inbound leads coming in from their events, from their websites. Maybe that sounds familiar. Maybe you're also having a lot of leads coming in from an event that you did recently, but they couldn't really handle them manually. So now their AI agent qualifies and engages with every single lead automatically. And again, this could be a voice AI agent that sounds like a human, right? If you like to use voice, we could replace the person on the phone call or the outsourcer, or we could do it through text, right? So 24/7, things are up to date, information is up to date, ensuring that zero leads are lost. Another case study was Wiley. Wiley had a 40% increase in case resolutions with their hybrid approach, outperforming their previous systems while keeping humans in the loop for complex cases, right? So the data is clear, right? 84% of sales teams use AI, report increased sales, they report increased efficiency, and they look at kind of how one insurance company automated about 46% of their broker questions, right? If you're an insurance company or a real estate company, you probably get a lot of the same questions over and over and over again, right? So, that's kind of the beauty. It's again, just harping on the same word again, efficiency. When you're more efficient, you could do more with your time. That's really the kind of the headline that we got from, analyzing our sales team. And as we talk to a lot of people,
In the burnout.
burnout, right? Like salespeople will come into a company extremely excited to work the first 30, 60, 90 days. And then you'll see kind of at day 91, things start to slack a little bit. They maybe not have updated everything and things kind of slow down. But all throughout that ramp up process, there's still all of those manual tasks that any salesperson has to do on their team for the most part. So that's really what we're saying is if we could take out a lot of that manual task processes that are just taking up a lot of chunk of your time of star salespeople that you hired, how far can your company go without these manual tasks and if they're automated, right? So just to, kind of think about the possibilities, right? So Rob, I wanted to talk about architecture and integration with everybody, right? A lot of people want to know like how
Yeah.
can this be implemented? What are the different layers of it? So walk us through a lot about the architecture and integration, what tools one would need to implement this. How complicated is this? What's going on?
Yeah, so as it shows there, everything starts from the data layer, right? So the key to successful hybrid AI implementation is to have the right foundation, right? You can't run a marathon without any foundation, right?
Right.
So everything starts with your CRM, whether it's Go High Level, HubSpot, whatever, your customer 360 data and your external AI. So as I said before, we're not replacing any systems. We're really just trying to get in there and figure out what you can enhance, right?
Right.
And then we use the AI engine, sorry, and that's where the magic happens. It's LLMs combined with RAG and smart decision trees and logic routing that can not only learn from your best sales processes, but you can also use AI in a way to, so like when we were talking about burnout before, it you can use it definitely to reduce the tasks that one does in a day, but you can also do things like inspire people, right? Or train people during the week if they're if it seems like their KPIs are going down or something like that. You can remind them of a training or remind them of something like, you know, it just has real-time data so that it could be able to do things like that, right? So
Right.
sky's the limit, really, there.
And
And
just
then we have, yeah,
just real quick, Rob, just to ask you a question for the people that are out there, like, okay, this is interesting, but this is kind of flying over my head. LLMs, RAG, decision trees. If we could just, in simpleton terms, so LLMs, everybody, it's what you want to choose, right? ChatGPT is an
yeah,
LLM. Claude is an LLM. Gemini is an LLM. Meta has their own LLM, right? So these are all like basic LLMs. We could plug into any of these.
right.
RAG, explain RAG to everybody. What is a RAG database? What's the point of that?
So retrieval augmented generation is it's a fancy kind of way of saying that all your data is stored in a way that makes it easier to be auto-corrected, let's say, so when you use RAG effectively, you can really pinpoint certain types of data in your business if you hit it with a bunch of, let's call it metadata, right? So if you're saving a specific type of data or saving specific KPIs or results from an ad campaign, for example, in a certain database in RAG, you can just talk to it using an LLM, using simple language, and pull out that data. If it's set up correctly, you can pull out that data with pinpoint accuracy, and it's living in real time so that as soon as the data goes in, you can talk to it.
Got it.
So it's just always up to date. It will always tell you exactly what's going on, right? And that's the beauty of it. It's really trying to figure out what are those things in your business that really matter. What are
Got
those
you.
triggers that you really got to pull to push your revenue forward, to push your sales forward? Like,
Got
what
you.
is it in that reg database that we
So
need to
that's kind
talk?
of like when you have a chat interface, everybody, and let's just say you're interfacing with your customers and you want to know in that conversation, let's just say you're selling, an e-commerce good for health and you want to like tag certain keywords that you would have in the questions that you're asking, all of that data through that conversation is going in for that customer ID in this database, right? So that's how we're collecting data, enhancing data, and collecting stuff in real time in this database, which the RAG database is then connected with the LLM. And that's what kind of makes this an AI engine, right? So the AI engine is working to pull out information that you've collected and providing you more segmented feedback and or more analysis that's actually going to be helpful for your team to then look at what's going on with this lead and information about that lead. It's just
Yeah.
essentially kind of keeping it
And
simple.
AI can also be used to f pull that information. So, like, let's say it's a sales call, right? And then there is multiple things said in that sales call. You can use AI to be like, okay, we need to segment this information this way, put it in this database, and then segment that information another way and put it in another database, you know?
Got you. Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now the integration layer, this is probably very familiar with some of the people, webhooks,
Yeah.
APIs, real-time sync. Can break that down for us a little bit.
So this is basically, the invisible thread that will tie together your tech stack, right? So webhooks and APIs, real-time synchronization, no data silos, no manual transfers. Everything happens basically in real time. And yeah, it's just a very powerful way to piece the puzzles of your business together, basically, right?
Got it.
And the AI and the RAG and all of that just seamlessly, right?
Got it. And then the human interface is what I was just mentioning is either the chat interface or it could be your CRM or it could be that table that you were just showing us would
Yeah,
be the
so
human
that's
interface.
that's basically why I brought it up is because I do feel like that is one of the biggest touch points that people will really have when they first start interacting with one of our AI agents, let's say, is maybe not wanting to see what's happening on the back end because it could be quite overwhelming, but maybe to have some sort of feedback happening in real time in a native interface that they're used to, such as their CRM or dashboard or Notion templates or stuff like that.
Got you. And then, for a lot of those people, and you have all this data, and some companies out there have a lot of private data. So some people might be worried about security and privacy concerns, trust concerns. So with a lot of this stuff comes kind of enterprise grade encryption for all your data across the board, comprehensive data controls, human oversight triggers for complex scenarios. Role-based access controls is 100% possible, and multiple fail-safe mechanisms. So the beauty of this architecture is that it's designed to enhance your current processes, not to replace them. So your team keeps working in the familiar environment, so nothing really changes for your team per se, while AI is working kind of how you said, invisibly in the background on that data thread, and that people can't see, but that's still there, right, powering everything. So.
Absolutely.
Cool. So let's talk about sales workflow improvements, right? So thanks, Rob. I really appreciate a lot of that overview. I think that was super helpful.
Numbers.
Yeah. And so now let me kind of show how this transforms like your daily sales operations, right? So we've identified, in our sales process and most people's sales process, 10 core agents. When I first got into AI agents, I thought it was going to be like one agent that handles like everything. It's going to be like this super, a robot that does everything. And that's not really true. What's true is breaking down each one of your processes, and most sales teams have a lot of these exact same processes. And what we're doing is we're making an AI sales agent for each one of these processes. So, number one, we have the appointment setting agent, right? The appointment setting agent automatically is booking meetings into your calendar, right? Then we have the customer support agent who's handling objections and questions 24/7, right? Then number three, we have the lead qualification agent, right? They're scoring and routing leads based on your criteria. Number four, we have a follow-up agent, which reduces no-shows with strategic reminders, which is super important. And then number five, for some companies, a front desk agent, which handles all the inbound calls professionally. Maybe it's from your inbound funnel, somebody's calling an inbound number. That's where that front desk agent's about. So there are five more agents, that covers lead capturing, nurturing, database reactivation, engagement, and renewal. And the results, 90% reduction in manual tasks across the board and 3 times more qualified conversations per rep is what we found. Maybe you might have more, maybe you might be a little less, but there's always going to be this improvement, right? And then the magic happens. So picture this. Your reps start each day with a pipeline full of the warm leads, qualified leads who have already been educated about your solution, had their basic objections already handled, and are ready to talk about their problems and talk about their business. So there's no more cold calling, no more manual follow-ups, no more wondering if a lead fell through the cracks, no more following up with leads hours after they came into your system, right? So here's what a typical morning looks like for people that have AI agents, right? Or a typical morning for our team. AI provides a summary of all the overnight activities. So the minute your salesperson comes into their sales seat, they know what happened overnight. Qualified pipeline. They look at the qualified pipeline section of a sales pipeline, and the warm leads are prioritized and ready for human connection. Smart insights. So AI provides conversational guidance based on previous interactions, right? So the key insight here is that your reps transform data entry clerks into strategic relationship builders and deal closers. I think that's a night and day difference from how your sales team used to work to how it could possibly work, right? This has been a day and night change for us, and what we see as we implement this in other companies, right? Any points to make, Rob, on that?
I think I'm good. You covered it.
All right, sweet. So implementation roadmap, guys. So now I know what you're thinking. This sounds complex. There's a lot of information we just threw at you. How do we actually implement this stuff? The beauty is in a phased approach that we take, right? So phase one, when you work with us, and how we work with our clients, is weeks 1 through 4. We start with the data audit, right? We need all your data, basic system integrations, and deploy your first AI agent. We're not going to deploy all 10. We're going to deploy 1 or 2 agents and see how that works. So think lead qualification agent, meeting scheduling agent. Let's start there. Now, phase 2 is when we get deeper into the automation phase. So we deploy a full top of funnel AI agent suite. So all the agents that I covered, all those 10 agents, will start to implement those and train your team on the new processes, train your team on what has changed in terms of the data that they don't have to really work with, all of the manual tasks that they used to do, and what they should focus their time and energy on, right? And then what we found now, weeks 9 through 12, is kind of the optimization phase. Like with anything, when you hire a new employee, you have to train them. So even though you hire a superstar person, the first couple of weeks, it's going to be just learning, right? And then they're optimizing themselves. So same thing happens with AI agents. They don't just come out of the box like knowing everything. They're training, they're learning, right? So optimization happens through weeks 9 through 12. We refine based on real performance data and scale the most successful agents that are actually working for you. Because again, you may not need all 10 AI agents. You might need 7, you might need 4, right? So every company is different. So that's why we got to see what is making a difference and moving the needle for you, right? So you'll see immediate results for sure in the first 30 days is what people expect and what we can promise. Lead qualification and automation for sure, meeting scheduling through AI, basic follow-up sequences, and then CRM data automation. And by day 90, you'll have a full sales funnel automation, predictive analytics showing you which leads to prioritize, advanced conversations, AI handling complex scenarios in your business, continuous performance optimization. And the key point here, guys, is we're not talking about a massive, risky transformation for your business. This is systematic, proven processes that build momentum for your sales team as it ramps up, right? So that's going to be what you can expect in terms of our phased approach. Now, like, what are the results, ROI results? What can you expect? So let's talk numbers, because I know everybody out there is like, okay, this sounds great. You've implemented this stuff, but how can this actually impact our team, right? So, because at the end of the day, this has to make financial sense, and it has to hit the numbers that you need to hit in your business. So, companies that have implemented this hybrid AI model approach, on average, have seen about a 200 to 300% increase in qualified leads, because AI, again, guys, is not sleeping. Your sales team has to go to sleep at some point. They're tired, right? But AI, they don't need food, water, or anything. It just continues to work. So it never forgets to follow up, and it's always working 24/7. Maybe you're focusing on different time zones and different markets across the globe. There's a 50% reduction in sales cycle because the lead arrives pre-qualified and educated. So that way, if the lead arrives at that point, you know that that's a hot lead. Like, they've already understood your solution, already understood what you're doing. So that lead is not going to be asking some of these basic questions that you probably are getting right now on sales calls. 200% improvement in close rate, right? All because of the education and the filtering part. Your reps are talking to better prospects. So when they're talking to better prospects, if you hired a good salesperson, it's going to be easier for them to close that lead. From a financial perspective, 80 to 90% reduction in manual workload costs, 3 to 5x more sales conversations per rep is what we've seen across the board. ROI typically visible within 60 to 90 days. So that's why our smallest engagement is 6 months, because that's really when you totally see massive, scale up after those 90 days. The next 3 months are just going to be totally scaling up, versus just having an employee there. And most people want it for a whole year, right? So within 90 days, you'll definitely see the improvements, and it'll pay back the cost and the time that we've saved you. So you can scale without proportional headcount increases. So again, we're not talking about firing anybody. We're not talking about hiring more people. We're just talking about the sales team that you have currently. How do you improve that right now? How do you unlock efficiency across that existing sales team? Operationally, you're going to get true 24/7 lead engagement across your sales process, a consistent message delivered every single time, zero human error in data entry, predictive scalable results. So here's what we're seeing in the market. Companies implementing hybrid AI models see average revenue increase of at least 15% to possibly even 40%, right? Within their first year. Some of our clients have literally doubled their sales performance within that 90 to 6-month period. And again, these are not promises. I don't say that this is going to happen for you. Everybody's different. But again, what we're really harping on is that most sales teams can actually do better. I mean, if your offer is good, your product is good, you can sell more of it. It's just why you're not. It's because of this inefficiency wall that most of sales teams are going through on a day-to-day basis as they get into the office, right? So these aren't promises. These are just results that we've found and what we've seen, and just wanted to kind of share it with you guys. So let's talk about, if you guys are ready to transform your own sales team. So here's kind of where we are. Your competitors are already exploring AI. Like we've talked about in our previous videos, the cost to not implementing this right now is you're going to be set back a year, 2, 3 years, and you're just not going to be able to compete in your market, right? So people are already implementing it. That's just the hard truth. The question isn't whether AI will transform your sales, because we know it will. It's whether you'll be leading that transformation or just scrambling to catch up, right? So we're offering something that we've never really done before. And just because, we are, been doing this year, what we want to do is do right by the market and really analyze your business to see if we can actually even help you, right? Before we actually even take you into an engagement. So it's a completely free AI sales playbook is what we're calling it. Just a consultation, just a small conversation to get on the phone with you, to understand your business. This isn't a sales call disguised as a consultation, guys. This is actually a genuine strategy session with myself, with Rob, so we can actually look into your business and see, is this something that can actually help your business? And we'll let you know right there, right then, if it can or if it cannot. So you have nothing to lose, but just to explore AI agents and how it might affect your business, right? So we'll go through this with you. We'll create a custom AI implementation roadmap based upon what feedback that you've given us, and we'll present it to you in our next follow-up call. But we're going to basically provide you ROI projections based upon your current metrics, give you specific technology stack recommendations, and what you can actually expect based upon what you're already doing in your business. And the call, it's not a long call. It's going to be just 30 minutes. We're going to audit your current sales process, identify your biggest automation opportunities, and create a 90-day action plan that you can implement immediately in your business and see some results. So this is genuinely a free strategy call with no sales pressure. If we can't really show you specific ways to improve your sales process, honestly, we don't deserve your business. We know we're not going to be able to help you, so we don't even want to take on a client that we can't help. We just want to take on people that can really take advantage of this, as we, the AI ramp is here. And so we're part of that. We're trying to help companies kind of get into it. And here's what we know. Every day that you wait is another day your competitors might be getting ahead exponentially, right? So every manual process your team runs today is lost productivity. So every lead that falls through the cracks, again, is going to be lost revenue. So the calendar link is somewhere in the description of this video, around the screen, but book a, free AI playbook call right now. It's 30 minutes. It could transform your entire operation, or you can at least shed some light on what's possible, and then you can kind of mull on it, talk to your team, but just kind of get, associated with this topic of AI agents in your business, because it's actually affecting every single industry out there. Like in the next 3 to 4 years, if you don't have an AI agent, that would be like not having a CRM in your business, in today's market. So, any questions or, anything that we didn't cover today, Rob? Or I think we pretty much covered everything, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident with that. Yeah.
Sweet. So I wanted to go into some questions that we've gotten previously from potential clients that we were talking to. This may apply to you out there. It may not apply to you, but just some thoughts that people think about, right? So one of the first questions that we've gotten, Rob, is this seems too complex for our team. What would you say to that? That this seems way too complex?
So yeah, I mean, that's exactly why we build it, to integrate with your existing tools. Your team can keep working on their CRM or using whatever software that they use. They just get better leads, fewer admin tasks. And when it comes to the back end or the error handling or the logic routing or all the stuff that looks kind of crazy, we're the ones who take care of all of that. So you don't have to worry about anything like that. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Cool. So another question that we get pretty regularly here is, how do we know AI won't make mistakes?
Yeah, so AI probably will make mistakes from time to time, but that's why we use a hybrid model where AI handles the routine tasks, but humans are always kept in the loop to handle the strategic decisions. So we build in multiple oversight layers or guardrails where you can imagine, like, if you were to send out a bunch of messages, the AI would notify you first, get your verification for all the messages that it wants to send out, and then send out those messages. And then it will keep doing that, fine tune until you're very satisfied with what it's doing. And then you can kind of let it do its own thing, right? So
Got you.
that's the theory behind building what we build to be able to be, you know, much more reliable.
Got you. And so, huge question that we get is like, what is the real cost of this? It sounds really interesting. Does this cost an arm and a leg? To be honest with you guys, I can answer this question. I get this all the time. The consultation is free, so you'll learn what's going to happen to your business if it makes sense. And the cost of having a whole team of agents is less than the cost of having an employee for the year, right? So for those of you that are paying out big commissions to your employees, it's going to be it's a fraction of that cost, right? The cost of not implementing this is going to cost you a lot more in lost leads, inefficient processes, and lost sales. So that's why this is not something that's going to be costing you an arm and a leg. Anything to say about cost, Rob, on what we've implemented thus far for people?
Not so much other than, yeah, the way that we build things is obviously very, it takes into token usage into concern, like when it comes to the RAG and stuff like that. Also, just the amount of information or tokens that ChatGPT has to use to get things done. We definitely try to get those costs down so that every use case is just far cheaper, you know?
Got it.
We're trying to
Got it.
find the most streamlined way to get things done, basically.
Got you. Got you. Okay. And then this question, a lot of people might be thinking, well, this all sounds really interesting. Maybe I may be ready for this. Maybe I might not be ready for AI. And I could say that I understand the hesitation there. But that's kind of exactly why we want to do this, 30-minute AI phone call with you. It's a free audit. Because if we don't do this free audit, then sure, you don't know whether you need it or not, and we don't want you to waste your time and energy. But if you can, and again, this is kind of like a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I say that because like something like AI is kind of like something like the internet came around. When Shopify first came out with, e-commerce websites, like it changed the game for most average people trying to sell stuff online. When Amazon first came out, it changed the game of people trying to sell stuff, but they don't want to do inventory management. They want to let FBA, Amazon handle all of the shipping. AI is that next wave. If you missed the other waves, this is a wave that can actually allow you to do more in your business with less. And if you are like a 1-2 person team out there, it can allow you to 10x your output, right? So not only because a lot of entrepreneurs I know, they face the financial burden of paying employees and making sure that they can actually justify the cost by selling enough. And sometimes they have a good month and sometimes they have a bad month, and so they're always flip-flopping between bad and good sometimes because they're trying to improve their offer. But while they're doing that, their costs don't change, right? The cost might seem heavier for a lot of these entrepreneurs that are just starting off or that are kind of scaling to the first 7 figures. So what I found, in just an experience, is most of that inefficiency, and because you rely on sales, the sales department is everything. So if you can cut out the efficiency there, you can probably scale faster for cheaper. And I think that's really the unlock, the aha thing, the aha moment that we're trying to explain to a lot of business owners out there. So if you don't think you're ready, find out. We'll let you know if you're ready or not. At least you'll have a quick phone call, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, appreciate your time again, Rob. I hope this presentation has been helpful to everybody out there. And if you want to talk with us, just on the screen, there should be a link to book an appointment, and we'd be happy to chat with you. Looking forward to talking with those that are interested. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.